This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is now available on Amazon. A link to the book will be placed in the description below. Alright, y'all. So, this might be a long video, might not be. Depends on how quickly I can get through the material that I want to go through, and also how quickly I'm able to impart this information. You know, 10 years ago, the coast was a much safer place. Much safer. I don't think there's anybody around who can deny it and be telling the truth. Yeah, we had our problems. We've always had our flaws. I mean, this is a, county with, 200 and something thousand people living in it. We're going to have problems. We may even have we may even have some of the issues that plague cities like New Orleans. And I'm going to try not to get too mad on this, because it does bother me. And it bothers me to the point to where I'm kind of at a loss. This, by the way, this video is not going to be endorsing any candidate. If you've seen my post on Biloxi Politics Uncensored, the new group and the old group, you pretty well know where I stand. I mean, I kind of make no bones about it. But I'm going to have to go into a little bit of a history lesson for everybody. We have always had a problem with crime in this area. I'm not going to deny that. We have a problem with crime on the Mississippi coast. It's not a new thing. It never was. But something happened in 2015 that changed the way we do things. What changed in 2015 was we actually made a deal with the devil. The devil being the ACLU. Now, as a libertarian, I'm supposed to be all in favor of the American Civil Liberties Union. Not so much. In theory, we need an organization that stands for civil liberties. In practice, the organization has been taken over by social justice warriors, and it's been that way for decades. They started out good and they went bad. One of the things that they were doing in the mid teens, 2000 teens, is they were going after the commercial bail bonds industry. In case y'all didn't know, I actually was a licensed bail soliciting and bail enforcement agent in the state of Mississippi. I was licensed in 2015. I worked for a company out of Canton, Mississippi. And I was making decent money. Now, there's benefit. The bail bond industry, yes, there is abuses that go on in that industry. I am not going to deny that. There are abuses, and yes, that industry needs more oversight than they have right now from the Mississippi Insurance Commissioner. Bail bonds in Mississippi is actually regulated by the Mississippi Insurance Department. And the reason that it's regulated under the insurance commissioner is because it's literally insurance. It's a bond. It's a surety bond. The way it works, as most people know, if you get arrested, up to, and you get a bond, and your bond is up to $1,000, in the state of Mississippi, it costs you 10% plus $50 to get out. Certain other jurisdictions like Jackson County and George County and Stone County have what's known as a turnkey fee. So you may have to pay an extra $25 or $26 depending on which county you're in addition to paying your bondsman. The $26 or $25 goes directly to the jail to release somebody from jail. Okay, so we know how this works, right? We understand how this works. Harrison County does not have a turnkey fee. I think they used to, and they no longer do. But anyway. So, if your bond is more than $1,000, you pay 10% plus $50, and the bondsman, at their discretion, can request collateral. And they can hold your collateral, which can be up to 100% of your bond, and you will get it back upon going to court and being adjudicated upon. That's how the bail industry works. It's been like this going back to the 1880s. 1882, there was a case called Taylor v. Tainter. Now, how does this benefit the general public? I know a lot of people have watched Dog the Bounty Hunter. Personally, I can't stand him. I make no secret about my contempt for Dog. Didn't particularly care for Beth when she ran PBUS, but that's a whole nother story. I don't think either one of them served the cause of the bail industry well. And it is an industry, but it's also a public service in the private sector. Yes, bail bondsmen have powers of arrest. Yes, bail bondsmen sometimes do things that violate the laws. They violate the rules. I'm not going to deny this. Yes, there is very little public oversight of the bail bond industry, but it still benefits, and I'm going to tell you how. Take a look at what's going on in the world right now. This is one thing I'm going to give Matt Haley credit for, because he did say this and he actually was 100% correct on this. In a 2023 world, it's not cool to be the police. We all played cops and robbers when we were kids. Some of us dreamed of being police officers, firefighters, whatever. But in the modern world, in 2023, it's just not socially acceptable or cool to be the police anymore. In fact, it's very dangerous to be the police. Therefore, less and less people are actually wanting that job. Not to mention the pay kind of sucks, especially in Mississippi for law enforcement. So you're not really attracting a whole lot of people to wanting roles in law enforcement like you were 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Because culture has, popular culture has shifted away from that. And that goes, to the Black Lives Matter movement. I say that they've had a lot to do with it. Not that I have a problem with Black Lives. I think that the way they do things is disgraceful sometimes, but as a whole, I understand that they do have a legitimate gripe. I'm not unsympathetic to that. But aside from that, being that it's not cool to be the police, we have a lot of vacancies in agencies. And this is a nationwide epidemic. So, the way this plays into the bail bond business and the way the bail bond business alleviates stress off of the police departments is very, very simple if you understand how it works. Bubba Jones gets arrested. Bubba Jones gets arrested for, I don't know, shoplifting. He goes into Walmart. And Bubba just, decides that he wants to have stuff that he can't afford and he thinks he's entitled to. So he goes to Walmart over there off of C.T. Switzer Road in Biloxi. And he just starts pocketing a whole bunch of stuff that he doesn't really need, and walks out the door with it. Well, of course, Walmart has more cameras than a casino. Loss prevention catches him. They get his picture. They see what's going on. He walks out the door. Somebody calls Biloxi PD. Biloxi PD shows up and, they go ahead and they catch him. They find him, they catch him, and they arrest him. All right. Now Bubba's going over off Porter Avenue, going to sit over there in the Biloxi holding cell for a little bit. Under the old system, I don't know how it is now, He's got 4 hours to get bonded out of jail, or he's going to Harrison County. Now, we already know that as of now, the Harrison County jail is very overcrowded. Let me finish the process and I'm going to explain how it helps out the jail as well. So Bubba calls A Plus Beach Bums bail bonds. And A Plus Beach Bum bail bonds comes over there and they send one of their agents. They're going to go through a whole bond application. They're going to get Bubba's name, date of birth, place he works, where's he live. They're going to get all this information. Used to be, and I don't know what it is now, I want to say it was a $900 bond for shoplifting first. I think it was $1,500 for shoplifting second, if my memory serves me right. So, we're going to say that they charge Bubba with shoplifting first. So, shoplifting first, they go ahead and, A Plus Beach Bum bail bonds with Leroy Jenkins walks in there, and Leroy, the agent, sits down with him, gets all this information, and Bubba's cousin Thibodeau decides to come in there and, be the indemnitor on the bond, so somebody's responsible in case Bubba skips. Here's your court date. You go to court September 4th. Be at court here at Biloxi Municipal Court, blah, blah, blah. They cut him loose. He's not going to jail. He's going back to the street. He's required to check in. He's required not to commit any more crimes. Otherwise, that bond will be surrendered. Required to make a court appearance. Follow all conditions and such set by the bail bond contract. Now he is under a legally binding ironclad contract with the bail bondsman. Well, now we're in September. It's September 8th. It's after the court date. Bubba decides he don't want to show up to court. The city sends a notice to Leroy, the bonding agent, and says, hey, we want this guy. He missed court. You better find him or you're on the hook for the entire $900 and something bond. Keep in mind, the bail bondsman only made $100 or $150 off this bond. The bonding agent himself probably made 40% of that. But the company is on the hook for the whole $900. Leroy calls cousin Thibodeau. Hey, where's Bubba? I don't know. He's somewhere around here. Okay. At this point, the bonding agent has 91 days to find Bubba from the day he missed court. What just happened is now he's got a failure to appear. Now, he does have an active bench warrant from the city of Biloxi. So if a police officer pulls him over, they can take him to jail right there. A lot of these guys get lucky, believe it or not. They're not actively manhunting Bubba over shoplifting. But what they're doing is, you know, it's in the NCIC system. If he ever gets stopped, he'll have an arrest warrant. They will arrest him, and he'll go back to jail. But they don't have to have a full-time warrants officer serving petty misdemeanor warrants. That's the bondsman's job. The bondsman doesn't want to lose $800 or $750. So what does a bondsman do? He now has incentive to go look for Bubba. Well, a few days later, he finds Bubba, and the bondsman makes an arrest, takes him right down to the Biloxi holding cell, and surrenders him. Now Bubba's going to court because Bubba's going to jail. The police didn't catch him. The bondsman caught him. Most of the time, people on bond do the right thing. They go to court. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good business for bail bonds to exist. When a bail bond company bonds somebody out, they're making a bet that the person will do the right thing, that they will go to court. If they want to hedge their bets, they'll take collateral. Usually on a little misdemeanor bond, there is no collateral. On a felony bond of a couple of $100,000, maybe. There are some that will do it without. But being that I'm not made of money, if I was running a bail bond company and I had somebody on a couple of $100,000 felony bond, yeah, I kind of want some collateral to ensure that you're going to show up to court. Because I don't want to spend, a couple of $100,000 that I have to pay circuit court would bankrupt me. Or if I'm backed up by an insurance company, I could lose my insurance, depending on if I'm personal surety or limited surety. And I'm not going to get into that, but there is a difference. Well, I will get into that briefly. Personal surety means that I wrote a check to Jackson and I'm self-insured and I'm responsible for 100% of the bond liability that I signed for. Limited surety means that I'm backed up by an insurance company. And there are several out there: Seneca, Palmetto, American Fire. There's a whole bunch of insurance companies out there. Anyway, that's basically the difference. And the insurance company is going to be putting pressure on me to go find Bubba if I'm the bondsman, because they don't want to pay. The way it's a public service is I've just taken the job of a warrants officer. That warrants officer can now go back to regular policing duties and keeping the community safe. That warrants officer is not overloaded on petty misdemeanor bonds now, or felony bonds. Obviously, most felonies go through circuit court. Most misdemeanors and petty felonies go through municipal court or justice court in the state of Mississippi. He's not in jail because he has bonded out. He is on bond. He is under bail bond contract. Therefore, less people are sitting in the jail, which reduces costs to the county. I'm sorry, y'all, but corrections is a money pit. If you really want to know what a jail is, what a prison is, what corrections is, it's a big old hole in the ground that's got a... Corrections is nothing more than a big hole in the ground in the middle of the earth with a raging fire at the bottom of it, and it's fueled on money. If you put $1 into corrections, you may get a penny back. There's not a whole lot of revenue to be generated in corrections. It's the truth. We don't do convict leasing anymore because that's akin to slavery. That was discontinued in most states by the mid-1920s. So there's really no way to generate revenue off of corrections. It's a money pit. So bail bonds actually reduce the cost of the county jail. And they reduce a burden on an already taxed police department. And the best bang for the buck is they operate at zero cost to the public. The ACLU came in and stopped that. That's where it started. 2015, the city of Biloxi. Gerald Blessey was the city attorney at the time. Made a deal with the ACLU. City of Moss Point also. I think the city of Moss Point was the first city on the coast to get sued for this. Then Biloxi. And what they were doing was the ACLU was actually suing over private probation, and somehow or another bail bonds got wrapped up into the deal. Private probation, the way that they were operating, was actually illegal at the time. To give you an idea of the private probation, which was the start of this whole crap, I actually had to deal with that once in my life. It's the stupidest thing ever. I got a ticket in Long Beach. I want to say 2009. Maybe 2010. I was driving a little faster than I should have been on Highway 90. Well, I went to court. And I didn't, at the time of the court date, have the money to pay the ticket. So they put me on private probation and said they were going to charge me $50 a month, plus follow my payment plan. And it was a private probation company that was located on 24th Street in Gulfport. 24th Avenue, in Gulfport. Well, a couple of weeks later, I got my paycheck. I paid the court. I went over to that private probation company, and they tried to tell me, well, you owe us $50 or we're not going to release you off probation. And if you don't pay the $50, we're going to arrest you. And I laughed at them. Again, I know the law. I'm not an attorney, but I certainly know the law. I looked at that guy and I told him, I said, well, you're not getting a penny from me. If you want my money and you think you're going to arrest me for not paying your private probation fees, get the cuffs out. You touch me with those cuffs, you're going to jail for extortion and kidnapping. It's the law. They signed the paper and released me right then because I knew my rights. Unfortunately, there were so many others at the time that thought that these were probation officers no different than the Mississippi Department of Corrections or county probations. And they fell victim. The ACLU sought to shut that down. The way these private probation companies came into existence was because they would go to these judicial meetings and they would meet up with these judges. Keep in mind, in the state of Mississippi, in order to be a municipal court judge or a justice court judge, you need nothing more than a GED or a high school diploma. You do not need to go to law school to be a municipal court or justice court judge. So when they started romancing these guys that may or may not have proper legal training, and I think most municipal court judges on the coast at least have law school, they're members of the bar. Can't really say as much for justice court, but as far as municipal court judges, I do believe all of them are attorneys. They were looking to save on cost. And when they got romanced and, hey, sign this contract with us for services and we'll take it from there. We'll save the city money and we'll charge the defendant. Well, what they were doing was basically trying to use the same laws as a bail bondsman without going through the certifications and the licensing and the classes. They would just, you could hire up and, hey, you're a probation officer now for a private industry. That's what got the ACLU involved and got the ACLU to start looking at these practices. Then they went after bail bonds. Even though there is precedent for bail bonds to exist, bail is mentioned in the Constitution under the 8th Amendment. They went ahead and threw that in there. They went ahead and threw that in there as well. And now we have what we're faced with in a 2023 world where you can't lock anybody up. Cops can't do their job. The jail is full. And now we have a overburdened and overtaxed police department, most of them on the coast, if not all of them. And we're in a situation now to where we can't even lock anybody up. And there is a very justice is non-existent in a lot of cases for victims of crime because of these practices. Now, this is how stuff like this touches the lives of everybody, and this went almost unnoticed back in 2015 when this started. Nobody really understood, unless you were in the business, nobody understood what was actually going on and what happened. And there was no way for people who were not in the know to foresee what we would be faced with 8 years later. Couple that with the pandemic and the social justice warriors that are doing more harm than good, trying to create nothing but chaos, in my opinion. And now we have a downtown Biloxi that is not tourist friendly like it was in years past. Again, I'm not going to go and get too deep into this. But I will say that because of this and certain failed policies at the sheriff's department today, now, in order for Biloxi PD, Gulfport PD, Long Beach, Pass Christian, or D'Iberville to lock somebody up, for a non-violent misdemeanor, non-enhanceable misdemeanor offense, they have to take them to Stone County. Now, they take somebody to Stone County. There is a phrase that if I got arrested right now for a misdemeanor and was taken to Stone County Jail, this is what could happen. And I've seen this happen with my own two eyes. I get arrested. They transport me to Wiggins. I go around the back of the building. Go in, past the county rec yard. Go into the Sally Port. Get pulled out of the car. I'm in handcuffs and I'm walk into the door, and I'm in the booking room where they'll go ahead and they'll search me for weapons and stuff like that. Take the cuffs off of me. I'll step into the other room there, the other part of the booking room. I'll watch the PREA video. I'll sit there and, get asked all these questions, get my picture taken, get dressed out. The officer's left now. He's on his way back to Biloxi about the time that they're trying to decide which zone they're going to put me in. So they go ahead and let's just say they put me down there in M zone at Stone County. And I look around and decide that I don't want to be there. I'm in there with 30 other people. And I just don't want to be there. So what I'm going to do is, because I know the rules and I know how to play the game, I'm going to walk up to the cage. And you got your cage door here. You got a call box right about here. I'm going to push the button on the call box. And they're going to come back and go, what do you want? I'm going to say 4 magic words. And as soon as I say these 4 magic words that I am not going to make public, they're going to come down there and they're going to come pull me out of that zone. They're going to put me in a single man cell. And they're going to call Biloxi PD or whatever agency just arrested me. You need to get somebody up here to come get him right now. And I'm going to be released from jail at no cost. And within about a day or two, I'm going to be right back on the street doing exactly what I was doing. Wonderful how that works, isn't it? And it all stemmed from 2015, continued under failed policies, and it's the perfect storm. Been going on with this for about 40 minutes now. If you're still watching and you're not mad, you should be. This is the justice system on the coast, specifically in Harrison County, in a 2023 world. And folks, it's only going to get worse. Hope y'all enjoy it. Y'all have a good day.